There is a version of you that comfort is slowly killing, not dramatically, not with violence, with patience, with ease, with the slow, convincing argument that you have already done enough, that rest is earned, that the hardest part is behind you. Comfort does not destroy men loudly. It dims them quietly, over months and years, until the man looking back from the mirror still has the face you recognize, but has lost something behind the eyes that you cannot name and cannot get back without a fight. This is the thing nobody tells you when you are young and the world is still soft and accommodating. They tell you to be happy. They tell you to find balance. They tell you to protect your peace. And none of that is wrong, exactly. But it is incomplete in a way that costs you everything if you believe it too early, too fully, too permanently. Because there is a kind of strength that cannot be given to you, cannot be inherited or purchased or arrived at through comfort. There is a kind of depth in a man that only forms under pressure. The way carbon becomes diamond, the way iron becomes steel. It does not happen in warmth. It does not happen in ease. It happens in the place most men spend their entire lives trying to escape. Think about the hardest period of your life, not the most painful in the way of loss or grief, though those matter too. The period where you were most tested, where the wait was real and the days were long and the result was uncertain, and there was no guarantee that what you were building would hold. Think about who you were on the other side of that. Think about the quality of your character after you had been through something that asked everything of you and you answered. Not perfectly, but you answered. There was something different in you after that. A settledness, a quiet authority over yourself that you had not possessed before. A knowledge, not intellectual but physical and permanent, that you could carry more than you thought, that you were more than you had been told. Pain taught you that. Nothing else could have. Comfort cannot build what pain builds, because comfort by its nature asks nothing of you. It accommodates. It adjusts. It lowers the threshold so you never have to rise. And when you live inside that accommodation long enough, you stop knowing what you are capable of. You start to mistake your preferences for your limits. You start to confuse what you want right now with what you actually need. And slowly, without any single dramatic moment of surrender, you shrink. Not in size, but in scope. The world you are willing to engage with gets smaller. The risks you are willing to take become fewer. The version of yourself you are building becomes more manageable, more comfortable, more acceptable, and less real. Seneca wrote to a friend once that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. But there is a companion truth he understood just as well, which is that men who never suffer at all become unable to imagine what they are capable of because they have never had to find out. The man who has never been cold does not know what warmth costs. The man who has never been broken open does not know what he holds inside. Pain is not the point. Suffering for its own sake is not wisdom. But chosen difficulty, the willingness to place yourself in the forge rather than away from it, that is something else entirely. That is the ancient practice the Stoics understood that the modern world has nearly forgotten. Marcus Aurelius did not become the philosopher-emperor by accident of character. He was forged. Military campaigns in cold climates, the weight of an empire on a mind built for contemplation, the death of children, the betrayal of men he trusted. He did not emerge from comfort into greatness. He was shaped by resistance into something that comfort could never have produced. And when he wrote in private for no audience, he wrote about this, about the obstacle being the way, about hardship not as something to endure, but as the very material from which a life of meaning is constructed. He was not speaking in metaphor. He had lived it. He was describing what pain had done to him, what it had carved away, and what it had revealed underneath. Here is what comfort never tells you. It never tells you that the man you most want to become is waiting on the other side of the thing you are most avoiding, that the conversation you will not have, the risk you will not take, the discomfort you will not enter, each of these avoided things is a door that remains closed, and behind each closed door is a version of you that never develops, never emerges, never gets the chance to show you what it could have been. Comfort does not just prevent growth. It prevents you from ever knowing what you could have grown into. That is the real cost. Not just the muscles you did not build, or the business you did not start, or the difficult year you routed around. It is the self you never met. And here is the deepest truth. The men who have been through the most, who carry real scars from real difficulty, they did not choose, but did not collapse under. There is something in them that is instantly recognizable to anyone paying attention. It is not hardness. Hardness is what happens when pain breaks you and you refuse to acknowledge it. What I am describing is something different. It is a kind of gravity, a weight that is not burden but presence. The quality of a man who has been tested and knows it and carries that knowledge not as pride but as quiet confidence. You cannot fake it. You cannot buy it. You cannot arrive at it through any path that does not run directly through difficulty. This is why comfort, in the end, is not kindness. Not if it becomes a permanent condition. Not if it becomes the organizing principle of your life. A life arranged entirely around avoiding discomfort is a life arranged around avoiding the very process that would make you into someone worth being. The temporary pleasure of ease is real, but it is borrowed against the future self who needed the difficulty to become whole. Every time you choose comfort over growth, you are taking from that person. Every time you stay inside the warmth when the work is outside in the cold, you are making a small, quiet decision that accumulates, that compounds, that eventually becomes the shape of your life and the size of your character. The question is not whether pain will find you. It will. The question is whether you will choose it before it chooses you. Whether you will enter the forge voluntarily, with intention, with your eyes open, or whether you will wait until life places you in it without asking. Both produce the same pressure, but only one produces a man who walked toward the fire knowing what it cost, knowing what it was building, knowing that the thing being made in the heat was worth every degree of it. Pain builds what comfort never can. That is not a threat. It is an invitation. It is the oldest and most honest form of respect one man can offer another. Not the promise that it will be easy, but the certainty that it will be worth it.